When I was younger, my grandfather owned a very old house on the edge of a small town. It wasn't creepy exactly, but it always felt strange. The house was huge, much bigger than it needed to be for one person. Long hallways, creaky wooden floors, and rooms that nobody ever used. But there was one room that stood out. A small door at the end of the upstairs hallway that was always locked. Every time I visited as a kid, I asked my grandfather what was inside that room. And every single time, he gave the exact same answer. Just old storage. But the weird part was, he never let anyone open it. Not my parents. Not guests. Not even cleaners. The key was always on a chain around his neck. When I was about 12 years old, curiosity got the best of me. One afternoon, my grandfather left the house to go grocery shopping. I was alone upstairs playing video games in the guest room. And I saw something interesting. He had forgotten the key. It was sitting on the kitchen counter. I stared at it for a long time. Part of me knew I probably shouldn't touch it. But the other part of me had been wondering about that room for years. So I grabbed the key. My heart was racing as I walked upstairs. The hallway felt quieter than usual. The locked door was exactly where it always was, at the very end of the hall. I put the key in the lock. For a second I hesitated. Then I turned it. The door slowly creaked open. Inside the room was not what I expected. It wasn't filled with boxes or old furniture. The room was almost completely empty. Just a desk, a chair, and dozens of photos pinned to the walls. At first I thought they were family photos. But when I walked closer, I realized something strange. Most of the photos were of people I didn't recognize. Different men, different women, different places. But they all had one thing in common. Every photo had red circles drawn around specific faces. And written underneath, each one was a name. And a date. Some of the dates were crossed out. Some weren't. I started feeling uncomfortable. Then I noticed something on the desk. A notebook. Inside were pages and pages of notes. Addresses. Descriptions of people. Schedules. It looked almost like surveillance. Like someone had been watching all these people. My stomach started to twist. Then I turned to the last page. And that's when everything got worse. There was only one photo pinned there. One single photo. And it was a picture of me. Not a recent photo either. It looked like it had been taken earlier that same day, while I was outside playing in the yard. Underneath it was my name. And a date. But the date wasn't today. It was tomorrow. I dropped the notebook. My heart was pounding so loud, I could hear it in my ears. I quickly ran out of the room and locked the door again. When my grandfather got home later that evening, I tried acting normal. But I couldn't stop thinking about that photo. Or that date. The next morning I woke up early. I went downstairs expecting everything to feel normal again. But my grandfather was already sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee, and looking straight at me. He slowly put his cup down. Then he said something that made my blood go cold. He said, "So, you finally opened the room." I froze. I hadn't told him. There was no way he could know. I asked him how he knew. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked over to the hallway mirror and pointed behind me. That's when I saw it. A tiny black camera. Mounted in the corner of the ceiling. Watching the entire hallway. He looked back at me and calmly said, "I've been tracking people my whole life." I asked him what he meant. And his answer was something I'll never forget. He said, "Everyone thinks they know the people around them, but they don't." Then he looked directly into my eyes. And said, "You were never supposed to see that room until tomorrow." I asked him why. And he smiled. Then he said the most terrifying thing I've ever heard. Because tomorrow was the day I was supposed to decide if you were going to replace